Begin the current Daf, Mesechta Rosh Hashanah Daf. Begin 8 lines down at the top of the Yommi, where we continue the halacha, the next Mishnah, continuing on these halachas of this parak regarding the mitzvah of Tekiyah Shofar, blowing the Shofar on Rosh Hashanah. Shiz corresponds to Bakal Zich and Ches Kol Training for Daf Hashem joining us for today's Daf. Some of this is discussed in today's Daf. I will mention the laws of Tekiyah Shofar on many different times, not just Rosh Hashanah. Horns of which animals are kosher for the mitzvah of shofar, and the difference between the shofar used on the fast days, on tiniest, they would blow the shofar, on yovel, on every 50th year, and then Rosh Hashanah, which is every single year on Aleph Tishrei. The mitzvah of Tekiyah Shofar is the mitzvah we learned from Yom Tur Yilachem, and today's we're going to discuss the concept of Inka Tega Nasa Sanega, that the prosecutor cannot become the defendant. Yovel is the mitzvah every 50th year that they would give everyone's field back and send the slaves free, and then they would blow the shofar to send as a sign that the slaves could go free. And tinus they would blow the shofar because it says in the pasuk when there's going to be a war in your land and there's going to be a challenge and difficulty, you're going to blow on the trumpet. So we see there's a mitzvah of blowing. So begin the current Daf Chavav, 8 lines down the top of the Yommi, where the Mishnah says, Kol shifaras, all shifaras, all horns, whether it's from a ram or whether it's from a mountain goat or yoel, which is discussed exactly what that is, as we'll shortly explain. All these shayfaras are kashem, they're all valid to use for the Tekiyah Shofar. Chutz mishal par, there's one exception, that of a cow. Why? Why is a cow's horn different? Nishu keren, because it's not called a shofar. Now, by yovel, the pasuk says in Vayikra, it says vavater shofar trua. It has to be a shofar. Now, in the last parak on Daf Lamadal Manaf in this Mesechta, the Gemara learns out that the laws of Rosh Hashanah from Yovel. So just like by Yovel it has to be a shofar and not a keren, so to Rosh Hashanah it has to be a shofar and not a keren. And a cow's horns are not called a shofar, it's called a keren. That's what the Tanna Kama says. So Rabbi says, what do you mean? But kol shofar is nikru keren. What do you mean? All shofaros are also called keren. Like it says the pasuk in Yeshua. It says that b'msheich with the drawing out, Bekeren HaYovel, and the horn of the Yovel, and the pasuk there continues, Kashama Achem es Kol HaShofar, and you're going to hear the sound of the shofar. Now, when you say in this pasuk, Keren HaYovel, it doesn't mean the Yovel year. The word Yovel, as the Gemara is going to explain, actually means Dichra. Dichra is a ram. So what it means to say in the pasuk, when you're drawing out the horn of the ram, and you're going to blow that shofar. So you see that the ram, which we know is called a shofar, even the pasuk there itself calls it a shofar, and it's called Mekeren HaYovel, the keren. So what do you bring me telling me that, cow is different because it's called a keren? Every shofar is called a keren. Why would that be an invalidation of the cow's horns? So the Gemara says, yeah, Shabbat Komer Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi's tiny good, but what would the Rabbanan say to that? Why is a cow invalid? So it says the Gemara Rabbanan, they would tell you like this. Kol ha-shofaris ikru shofar ve'ikru keren. All shofaris are called both shofar and keren. It's called keren, like Rashi says, as the Mishnah just said, from Rabbi Yossi. He brought the pasuk of shofar b'keren ha'yebel. We find that the shofar is called a keren. But it's also called a shofar, as the pasuk says, by Matan Torah, b'msheich ha'yebel, etc. It says, v'hi kol ha'shofar. So it's called shofar and it's called keren. Now the thing is, but the parah, but the cow, keren ikri, shofar lo ikri. It's called only keren, and it's not also called shofar. There's still, like, so the pasuk in the Bar, when it talks about Yosef Tzaddik, talks about his shevet, it says B'chayr, the firstborn, Shayroi, his ox, Hadarlai is a glory for him, but Karni Re'im Karna. And the horns of the Re'im, which is a certain type of an animal, are his horns. Or whose horns? Of the B'chayr Shayroi, of the firstborn of his ox. So we see it's being called a keren. So a cow slash ox, which is male female, is called a keren. And therefore, the Rabbanan say, don't bring me a raya that all shofaros are called keren. Yeah, they're called both. But a cow is only called keren. For Rabbi Yossi, I'm lucky to tell you it's not true. The paranami ikri shofar, I'm going to bring you a raya that a bull is not only called keren, like you're telling me why it should be a problem, because it's called keren. He says, well, all shofaros are called keren. He says, yes, but all shofaros are called keren and shofar. He says, but I'll show you that a cow is also called both. It's called keren and it's called shofar. Where do you see that? Because he says a very interesting drush in Pasuk in Tehillim. Pasuk says, David HaMelech is davening, Titev LaHashem, that it should be good to Hashem, my davening, Mishur Par, from an ox bull. Now, it doesn't read well, this pasuk, because Im Shur, if it's an ox, Lama Par, why are you calling it a bull? Vim Par, if it's a bull, Lama Shur, why are you calling it an ox? Elamai meishar par, it's meishayfer. It's actually one word, which, as Rashi explains, it is talking about a shiur, because that's what the pasuk is talking about, and we see that it's called a shayfer. That's how he darshans the pasuk. Says you see that a shiur is called a shayfer. So it's the same thing like all other animals. Just like a ram or whatever it is, you see the pasuk calling it a shayfer and a karen. There's also not only a karen, but also a shayfer. You see the shiur is called that my damni shebedish the shur par, which is the word shayfer. Rabbanan, they say no. That's not the drasha of the pasuk. And therefore you don't see anywhere that a shur's horns are called a shayfer. It's kedrav masa. The Rav Masa says, my shur par taka, what does it mean that my davening should be better than an ox bull? It means shahu, that the shur is gadol kipar, is as big as a bull. Meaning, the day that it's called a shur, it was already as big as a par. This refers to the shur of Maisa Bereshis, because the day it was created in full height. Because what actually is a shur? A shur that's even a day old is called a shur. Like it says the pasuk in Vayikra Chav shur chesav is ki yivolid. When it's born, it's already called a shur. A par is only when it's 3 years old. So shur par mean let my davening be so chashuv that even a newborn shur is as already like as big as a par. That's how chashuv my davening should be. But not that you see it's called shayfer. It's not shur par that it's a shayfer. It's a shur that's like a par. But you don't see anywhere that its horns are called a shayfer, and therefore the Rabban disagree with that of Rabbi Yisrael. Now, that's one interpretation that our Mishnah said the reason of the machlekes Rabbanan and Rabbi Yisrael. Ulamai says another reason. Anytime the Rabbanan, the reason Rabbanan why they invalidate the shayfer of a para is because Rav Chizda. Rav Chizda says a well-known drasha. Nema in Kohen Gadol nichnis b'big dezav l'fnai v'lefnim la'avodah. Why is it so interesting? The holiest day of the year, the holiest place of the year, the holiest person of the year, the Kohen Gadol, who normally wears special 8 garments that make him distinct, he's wearing only 4 garments. He's not walking with the big days of into the Kodesh HaKodeshim. The reason is lafisha in kateger, because you cannot have the prosecutor, which is what's the chet, the big chet of Klal Yisrael is the egel hazav, the golden calf, cannot come nasus and be the defendant. And therefore you can't walk in with gold, because that's the egel hazav, into the Kodesh HaKodeshim, because it's going to recall it's the prosecutor. You can't become the defendant now to try to protect the Jewish people. Now the shayfer of the para is also kateger, because the egel is a calf. And if you're going to take the horns of the egel, that's the kateger becoming the seneger. That's another reason why it cannot be the horn of the cow. Says the Gemara, the loy is not true. The Gemara goes through many different halachas that seemingly contradict this concept. But v'eged dam par. What do you mean? One of the main karbanas was the par of the Kohen Gadol. That the blood of that par and of the Sar Lashem, both those were brought into the Kodesh HaKodeshim. So you tell me you bring the blood of a bull, and you put it on the kapayras, you bring it on by the perech. How's it possible? How do you bring it into the Kodesh HaKodeshim? It's the bull. The bull is the cow. I thought that's inkateg and asanegir. Since the bull already changed to become blood, you don't recognize a bull in the blood. So it's already different. It's not the actual bull itself to be like a calf, to be reminding of the Egel Hazav. It says, Aron. What do you mean, the ark itself was gold? The kapayras, the cover of the Aron was gold. The kruvim were gold. How can you have gold in the Kodesh HaKodeshim to remind of the sin of the Egel Hazav? It says, no, Chayte, the sinner, the person, Bal Yaakov Kamina. The sinner should not come together with gold where he sinned with the gold. You cannot come in with the shayfer, with the gold, because you are the sinner with the gold. Gold is not intrinsically problematic. It's like many mediums in the world. You sinned with gold. You coming with gold would be a problem. The fact that the parechas, that the kapayras, that the aron and the kruvim are there, that's not a problem that they're there. The spoon that he would hold the ketayras in, and the mach that he would hold the coals in when he came into the Kodesh HaKodeshim for the ketayras, they're made out of gold. How's he coming with these golden utensils? It's going to take a nasanega. The problem is only if a sinner is beautifying himself with the gold, that's a problem. But these are just utensils. So the fact that he's bringing gold per se is not a problem. But if you're adorning yourself with them, like the big days of, Oh, that's a problem. Like Taisa says, the shofar is also considered misno with the coil of the key. Go, you're showing a geschmack of coil. You're beautifying. It's the same thing. That's why the shofar of the par was a problem, because you're being misno. It's time to come in with your utensil. Go. That's not a problem. But what are you talking about? But the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippurim also would wear the golden garments out of the heichel. How's he doing it? I can take it as a nega. So well, no, maybe if come in. Only inside the Kodesh HaKodeshim in the heichel. That's where we don't want the prosecutor to become a defendant. Outside of the heichel, that wasn't a problem. But says but the shofar that was blown wasn't blown in the heichel. So what are you telling me? The shtickle to ain't taking as a nega because it's the egel / the para. It wasn't done inside. So says the Gemara, yes, but shofar also, even though that you don't have a chayte bal yikra, he's not coming inside, and he's not even being in the snow with it, the way Rashi says it. But Kivin de Lizikaran, who since it's coming to create memory, that it's Lizikaran, which many Sifri got to darshan exactly what does this mean. So it has kibifnim dami. It has the same status as a kohen gadol lefnai lefnim. That's what the shofar has, because since it brings zikaron, it's the same thing. What exactly does that mean? That the Darshanim usually talk about. What does it mean that the shofar, because it's making zechreinis, so it has the same chashiva as lefnai lefnim. Which Taisa says, when the eif and the choshen also are lezikaron, like the pasuk says that lezikaron. So why isn't that a problem even b'chutz? So it says no, the shvatim are zikaron, not the gold itself. So therefore, that's not a problem. But here, the shofar itself is making the zechreinis, and what is the shofar? It's from a para, which is the egel hazav. Then it's as going to have the same halach as the kohen gadol coming in lefnai v'lefnai. But says the Gemara, okay, that's the pshat that you said. But va'ayv hatana, I will learn in the Mishnah that's not the reason why. It's not because ein kateik and nasnega that you can't use the horn of the paras. But they should karen come. The Mishnah said it's because they called it a karen and not a shofar, not because ein kateik. So the Gemara, no, chada va'id kama. They were saying one and another. Chada, first of all, ein kateik and nasega. You can't use the horn of the cow because the prosecutor cannot become the defendant. But they should karen. Additionally, because like we said in the Mishnah, because it's a karen, not a shofar. On both points, Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg would tell you, the Ka'ama this said you said that the prosecutor not become defendant. So he disagrees with the premise we just mentioned. It's only for something that's inside the heichel, like the golden garments. The high shofar, the shofar is not done inside the heichel, and if it's not a problem, you don't say just like we the big on the outside. And for the common issue, Karen, this thing because it's a Karen, Kol shofar is not make a Karen, like we said already in the explanation in the Mishnah, that all shofars are called Karen. That's not a problem. That's it. That was the second interpretation. Abai Ami says the third interpretation. He says, you know, you know what the reason Rabbanon why they say that the horn of a cow is invalid? Is because shofar, and some gives us of the word echad om rachmana. The Torah tells you a shofar, one shofar. But it can't be 2 or 3 shofars. What does that mean? The horn of a cow is interesting. Keeping the koi gildi, since it has layers upon layers, every single year it adds on. Is an addition to the layers of the horn, and it's recognizable that layer. It's almost like a new, where the first one ends, the second one starts. It appears to be like 2, 3 different shefaras, and therefore that would invalidate it because it has to be one shofar, not many. I says the Gemara Vatana, but it's not what we learned in the Mishnah. We live in the issue Karen. Hazabai saying that's the reason. I in the Mishnah said because it's a Karen. Says the Gemara Chadabayid Kama. Yes, it's one and another that it was saying. Chada, first of all, the shofar echad the says it has to be one shofar l'shnaim l'shleish l'shavars, and not 2 or 3 shavars, and that of the cow looks like more than one shofar. But they should can, and those were good they can. He would tell you on both points. The comment that said you said shofar echad menachman l'shnaim l'shavars, that's only going to be one shofar, not 2 or 3 shavars. Well, keeping the machaber adad, but since they're all connected, Chadu says, well, it's not 2 or 3 shavars, it's one shofar. With the comment that you said they should can because it's a karen, not a shofar. Kol shofar is not make a karen. All shofars are called a karen, and not that of and not just a shofar. And therefore, being called a karen is not an invalidation. Now, the Gemara asks a parenthetical question. In the Mishnah, Rabbi Yossi wanted to bring a raya that why do you bring me such a problem that the horn of a cow is called the karen? Oh, it's so invalid. But what do you mean? He says all shofars are called karen. What was the pasuk that he brought? So he brought a pasuk in Yeshua that says, that it is that when there's the drawing out of the horn of the yovel, what's yovel? Somehow you bring me a raya from that pasuk that a ram, which is we know is a shofar, is being called Bikeren. So you're showing me from there that only a cow is called a Keren. Every shayfer, even that of a ram, which we know is a shayfer, is called a Keren. So the Gemara asks, where do you see that the word yuvla, which is what the pasuk is saying with the Bikeren Yovel, is lishna the dichru, that it means a ram? That you showed me that all shayfaras, even that of a ram, is called Keren. So the Gemara the time like we learned in the Brisa. Amar Rabbi Kiva says, Kishalachti la'Ravi, when I went to Arabia, they would call a ram yuvla. So you see that the word yovel means a ram, and that's how Rabbi was showing that all shayfaras, even that of a ram, which we know is a shayfar, is called a keren, like the pasuk says, b'keren l'yev. Similarly, the Gemara continues on that theme. It mentions many words whose definitions were unknown until they heard someone use it, and then they knew what it meant. So too, Rabbi Kiva, again from Rabbi Kiva, he says, Kishalachti legalia. When I went to Galia, they called a menstruating woman a galmuda. Now, my galmuda, why would they call a nida a galmuda? Gemula, like gaimel is a baby that finished nursing. It's a removal. Gemula dami baila. This woman is removed, is separated from her husband. That's what a nida is. She has those times of the month when she's separated from her husband. So that's why a nida is called a galmuda. Additionally, Rabbi Kiva says, "Kishalachti la'Afriki." When I went to Africa, they called ma'a kasita. They knew what a ma'a is, but they called it kasita. What's the difference? The fruit should explain the pasuk in Bereshis. Yaakov went and gave. He says that he was saying that to Yosef, that Yosef was saying to that Yaakov went and bought the portion of the field that from the people of Shem. He bought it with mei kasita. So what that tells us is that this deraisa, this biblical terminology of 100 kasita is mei a donkey, because a kasita is a ma, and a ma is a donkey, which was a sixth of a dinar. In other words, we know how much money Yaakov paid for that plot of land from the people of Shem. Somebody, Amar Rebbe, he says, when I went to the maritime cities, how you in the mechira kira, they called mechira kira, which is a sale. So what do we gain from that drasha? So it's explaining a pasuk in Bereshis. Yosef is telling Paroi that my father swore to me, saying that he's going to die, and I should bury him in the place Asher Karisili. So what does Karisili mean? He says Asher Mechartili, meaning that he went and he sold. It means that there was a mechira, and Eretz Canaan, meaning that he bought it. That's where I should bury him. So we wouldn't know what Karisi means. We know it means Kira means Mechira. So to Omer Shemalakish, it says, when I went to the boundary of Kan Nishraya, they're currently Kala Ninfi. They called Kala Ninfi. And they called a rooster Sechvi. So the Gemara explains, like Kala Ninfi Mikra. What's the pasuk for calling a bride Ninfi? It's a pasuk in Tehillim. Yefei knife, the beautiful bride. So we see knife is a kala. Mesais kalarz is the joy of all the land. And Utanagol Sechvi, what do we, when we're saying that a rooster is called a Sechvi, Amar Rabbi Yehuda Merav, like we make the famous bracha in Berchas HaShachar. So Amar Rabbi says, Michael, what's the pasuk that you see this? Pasuk in Eve. Mishas batucha is chachma. Who placed in the smooth ones wisdom? This is Hashem's always rebuking Eve, saying, "What, you know better than me? You know what I do?" Who gave intellect to the understanding to the sechvi. So what does this mean? So Mishas Batuch is Chachma, who put into the smooth one's wisdom, Iluklois, it refers to the person's kidneys. Throughout the Gemara, we always find that the kidneys are considered that which counsels a person, and that's smooth, the kidneys. And Hashem put that into a person. Who put into the sechvi, which the word sechvi actually Rashi says the terminology of looking. So who gave understanding to the sechvi is a tarnagol, that refers to the rooster. So again, so you see that this idea that a tarnagol, a rooster, is called sechvi. Related, the Gemara brings that Levi Ikolahu Asher went to a certain place, and also Gabal Kamei, a man came in front of him. Amalei, he said to him as he continued in the base, he says, Kavan Palanya. This guy was complaining to Levi. He says, that person stole from me. Now, the thing is, well, how the other might come. Levi didn't know what he meant. He didn't know what the word kavan means. See, that person was kavan. So Asa Shalom Medrash, he came and he asked him to the base of Medrash, and Amalei said to him, Gazlan Amalach. He was telling you that someone stole from him. The Sulik says the Pati Malachi. Hayikaba Adam Elikim Begomer, is a man going to rob God, which that's referring to the Maisis and the Trumas that you are Atim Koiva Maisi, that you steal from me, that you don't give to Hashem. So he didn't know what it meant, but then he went and he found that the word Kavan means to steal. That's one of the famous drushes, Kavati Itim Latayra, when the question asked him, Aveka Gamvet Abisl Tzad Tzelen, Dav Gamven in the Tzad Tzelen. But that's what the word Kavan means. Normally, Rabbi Shloimy, he says something very interesting. He says, Yehav Hassan says, if I was there, and there's something called contextual definition, like you don't know what the word means, he says, I would figure out what it would be. You know why? Because I would tell the guy, yeah, he was kavanyu? How did he do this kavah? But my kavacha, what was the tool? What did he use to do the kavah? But my kavacha, why did he do this kavah to you? I would find out from the conversation. It's a smart thing that if you don't know what a word is, you play the game and you say, Taka, what did he do? How did he do? But the Gemara says, the use of the Levi thought, Levi also chopped that idea. Why didn't he say that? Because he thought Nasa Distur Kamai. He thought it was something immoral that was done to him. He didn't want to have that whole conversation. He didn't want to get into those nitty-gritties of that sordid tale of what actually happens. And I say, what did he do? How did he do? And you get that whole story, you regret the day you asked those questions. So therefore he didn't ask those questions too. Similarly, the Gemara continues regarding many words that they didn't know that they ended up finding out. So Lahavi Adi Rabban and Maisirugin. The rabbis didn't know. We learned in the Megillah of Yudzayin Med Aleph that says what the halacha is if you read the Megillah b'sirugin. They didn't know what the word sirugin meant. So they didn't have art scroll. So Shemula Amsud Beit Rabbi, they heard from the maidservant of Rabbi, the Chazasinu Rabbanan. She was seeing that the rabbis have Ali Piski. The rabbis were coming in periodically. They weren't coming in all together at the same time. So Amalahu, she said to them, Ad Masatim Nechnasan Sirugin. Till how long you didn't come in Sirugin? So they figured out that the word Sirugin meaning with breaks, like a little bit, stop, a little bit, stop, a little bit, stop, and that's what it means to read the Megillah b'sirugin. Similarly, the rabbis didn't know. We learned in the Mishnah in the first parak of Yomim that for 7 days they wouldn't give the kohen gadol to eat any garlic or chaluk logos because they didn't want them to have any discharge. So, but they didn't know what chaluk logos was. So one day they heard again the maidservant of the household of Rabbi. The chazes lahu gavra. She saw a certain man, the kumavader paprachine, that he was dispersing his purslane, which is from the herb family. She said to him, how long are you going to be scattering your chaluk lagecha? So they realized that chaluk lages is purslane because of the words that she used. Additionally, the Rabbanan didn't know what does it mean in the pasuk of Mishlei, salsaleha. Didn't know what it meant, be misalsalit, which is it's going to uplift you. So Yom Echad Shemula Amsud Beit Rabbi, again, this made him in the house of Rabbi, very learned woman, obviously, at least in regards to language. To have a amro lahu gavra. She was telling a certain man to have a kamahapach besari. He was curling his hair, twirling his hair. Amrle, she said to him, Admasat misalsa b'sarecha. She was obviously saying a lot of admasas. But how long are you going to be misalsal in your hair? Which obviously they realized that the word misalsal means like curling. So what does that pasuk actually mean when it says salsalau? It's actually referring to Torah, meaning seek and turn around the hidden depths of Torah, which to the Mecca, and it's going to elevate you. They realize what salsalau actually means.
They didn't know Rashi from Yosef, that's how
Why? The rabbis didn't know what does it mean the pasuk in Yeshaya. It talks about the Churban of Babel. It says by the destruction of Babel is going to be that b'teitasiho b'metate hashmed. I mean b'metatet with a metate of destruction. They didn't know what does the word teitasiho mean, what it's referring to. So Yom Echad Shemula Amsud Beit Rabbi, one day they heard the maidservant of the house of the Rebbe. Now Amr l'chaverta, she was telling her friend, Shekuli tatisa v'tati beisa. Take the tata and be metata the bais. They realize what that means to say. Even if you don't know Spanish, you hear them saying a certain word and then this word and that word, you say, oh, it means a broom. Take the broom and sweep the house. They realize that what the pasuk is talking about Churban Beis Hamikdash, a Churban of Babel, is that Hashem said, I'm going to sweep it with a broom of destruction. Additionally, the rabbis didn't know what does it mean the pasuk can tell them. Hashlech al Hashem Yehovecha. Throw on Hashem your Yehovecha. What does that mean? Throw on him your Yehovecha. What does that word mean? And who Yichak and he'll provide for you. So my Rabbi Babuchani says, Yom Echad, one day I was going with an Arab merchant, and I was carrying a load And the merchant said to me, Shekol Yehavech, take your load, Veshadi Agamloi, and throw it onto the camel. That's when they learned that what the pasuk means, Hashlach Shem Yavecha, is take your pekel, throw it on Hashem, and He'll provide for you. In the next Mishnah, continue on these halachas of the mitzvah of Tkiyah Shofar and Rosh Hashanah. So the Mishnah here differentiates between the Shofar of Rosh Hashanah and on many other occasions. Shofar Rosh Hashanah, first of all, tells us what it should be. It should be Shel Ya'al, which Rashi says that a Ya'al is a steinbock, which is a wild goat. Taisus brings from the Aruch that it's actually a female lamb, ewe, and the reason for that is because we say that it should be pashut. Mishnah is telling us that the horn should be straight. And the reason the Gemara is going to explain in the Gemara why it should be straight is because when it comes to things regarding davening, like the Shofar of Rosh Hashanah, you need pshitas. You need to be straight. And the Aruch says that generally the ram of the kisva is straight. But Taisus disagrees. Taisus likes Rashi's interpretation that it's the steinbock, the wild goat, because we find that Yal is a chaya, and therefore it makes sense that it's not a female lamb, but actually that of a wild goat. Be that as it may, you take this Ya'el, which Taisus says anyways la halacha. Although we say in the Mishnah that should be a Yal pashut, everyone agrees besides that of the para, and actually Taisus brings the well-known drasha of the first parak that we blow with a shofar of an ayel to recall the Kedah Yitzchak, which actually we do, but that's what the Tanna Kamma says. You should take a Ya'al, wild goat that's straight, upiv mitzupazav, and its mouth, it should be plated with gold, which that's specifically in the Beis HaMikdash, and and you have two trumpets on either side of the shofar. Shofar marach, the shofar is lengthy, and the trumpets are a little bit shorter, meaning after the trumpets finish their tkiyas, the sound of the shofar is still blasting. And the reason for that is Shemitzayim b'shofar, because the mitzvah hayim, the primary mitzvah of Rosh Hashanah, is a mitzvah of shofar. So although we have it together with the choir of the trumpets, but the trumpet should be shorter than that of the shofar. Now, the tiniest. Now, however, on the public fast, which the Gemara says in Tainis on the Tizvav Mabeis, that the Tikku HaKahanim, Tikku, that the Kahanim would blow tkiyas on public fast days when there wasn't rain. So there actually, it's Bishel Zacharim, so actually it's of a male ram, which there generally they are kafufin, they are bent, Upi Mitzupa Kesef, and their mouth is plated with silver, and and you have two shofars on either side, because we want them to be in the middle, like this explains. So we have two shofars on either side. We have the trumpets in the middle. And shofar mekatza, the shofar actually here is a shorter blast, and the trumpets are longer blasts. The reason for that is because the primary mitzvah of a tainus is with trumpets, because the purpose is to gather people together. And all gatherings are with chatzaitis, like the pasuk the trumpets are there to gather the people together. So therefore, on a tainus, the trumpets are primary. Now, so far we spoke about that of Rosh Hashanah, and we spoke about that of tainus. Now the Mishnah continues regarding that of Yovel. Yovel is once every 50 years. You also blow the shofar on Yom Kippurim of Yovel. So what halachic status does Yovel have? So the Tanna Kamma says, Shavah Yovel Rosh Hashanah. Yovel is the same as Rosh Hashanah Litkiya, which Rashi explains wasn't meant for Tkiya, that it should be with Pshutin. And now, although the Tkiyas on Yovel is not for davening, and it's not for any Zechrainis, it's just actually as a sign to send the slaves home and to let people get their fields back that they sold. Even so, you have to do it like Rosh Hashanah, because we learn that Gzer Shava in the last paragraph of Lam Dalam and Aleph, Shvi Shvi, they're both in the 7th month. And just like Rosh Hashanah, we have the Tkiyas, so do we have by Yovel. And also another thing that they share in common is Lubrachas. You have to say in your Shemona Esrei of Yom Kippurim of Yovel 9 brachas like you have in the Shemona Esrei of Rosh Hashanah, which you have the 9 brachas on Rosh Hashanah. Now Rabbi Yehuda disagrees with the Tanna Kamma, which the Gemara is going to explain his reasoning. He says Rosh Hashanah taking Mishal Zachar. He actually says Rosh Hashanah actually is not of a Yal Pashut. Actually, you blow with that of a ram. And on the contrary, on yovel is b'shel ye'elim, is with that of a wild goat. And obviously, as Rashi points out, he obviously does not have the Gzeir Shava, because then you wouldn't be able to have a Yovel dividend in Rosh Hashanah. So not only does he disagree with the Gzeir Shava and that Yovel is not similar to Rosh Hashanah, he holds it's the opposite of Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is not the wild goat, Yovel is the wild goat, and Rosh Hashanah is that of a ram. Now, related to the halacha of the Mishnah, the Gemara brings another opinion, which we're going to ask from the halacha of the Mishnah. Amar Rabbi Levi says, Mitzvah Rosh Hashanah b'Shem Kippurim, the mitzvah of Tkiyah Shem Rosh Hashanah and the that of Kippurim of Yovel are going to be bekrufen, that they should be bent, and Mishal Kol Hashanah, and that of the whole year, meaning of all the fasts, are bepshutin, are with a straight shayfer. So the Gemara says, how could he say that? But now we learned in our Mishnah that said, shayfer shel Rosh Hashanah, the shayfer of Rosh Hashanah should be shel yoel pashut, should be from a straight shayfer of a wild goat. So how could you say that it should be bent? Says the Gemara, Hu Dama K'ai Tana. You're right. He's saying like the other Tana, actually in our Mishnah, which is Rabbi Yehuda, but the Tanya like learned in the Brisa, which elaborates a little bit more, but it's similar to what Yehuda says in our Mishnah. Yehuda, I mean, he says he disagrees with Tanakam. He says that Beresh Hashanah, how you take a Mishal Zacharim, shouldn't they actually would blow with that of a ram? That's kafufin, that's bent. That's what Rabbi Levi said. Ubi Yevalis, and on Yovel, B'Shal Ye'elim, you would blow with that of a wild goat. So says the Gemara, okay, but let me help us Rabbi Yehuda. Why is Levi, who is Namoira, saying his own halacha? Why doesn't he just say halacha Yehuda? Says the Gemara, no, Iyam and halacha hilchas Rabbi Yehuda. If you would say halacha Rabbi Yehuda, Havamina, I would have said Afal Nami. That even in regards to the law of the shayfa on Yovel, that there are two Rabbi Yehudas really, which he says on Yovel it should be of a wild goat. So Kamash Malan, that's why he said his own teaching to tell you that by Rosh Hashanah he holds a Rabbi Yehuda. By Yovel he doesn't hold because he actually holds the Gzeir Shava, which has to compare Yovel to that of Rosh Hashanah. So says the Gemara, okay, but my Kemefaki, what exactly is the Machlekes Tanakam Yehuda regarding what should be the right shayfer on Rosh Hashanah and on that of Yovel? So the Gemara explains. Maras Rabbi Yehuda held, but Rosh Hashanah, kama the kayif in his daite. However much a person subdues himself with his davening and his face is buried in the ground, that's better what you could do on Rosh Hashanah. Because that a person is not appropriate for the person to be standing upright. So Rosh Hashanah, you have davening and you're recalling the Akedas Yitzchak, we need that it should be bent. So that's why Rabbi Yehuda says that they should be kafufin, that they should be bent. And that's what Levi held like. Will be in the Kippurim. Now regarding Yovel, what's the purpose of that shayfer? It's to call out Jeror Ba'aretz, to declare freedom. Oh, then you need it to be straight. Why? Because the Pashat in the more smooth and straight, upright is a person's consciousness. When you're talking about freedom, that's better. And as Rashi points out, obviously he doesn't like hold the Gzeir Shava, because then Yovel would have to be the same Rosh Hashanah. So he doesn't hold the Gzeir Shava. If you don't have the Gzeir Shava, then no, Yovel should be straight up. It should be the horn, because it's freedom. But Rosh Hashanah, with the Kfifis, with the Ibigaboygin, that's better. That's why it should be bent. That's why Rabbi Yehuda held. Marsal, but the Tanakama held, no. Rosh Hashanah, kama the Pashat in Ishdaite. The more persons is straight up on Rosh Hashanah, that's better. Why? So Rashi means a pasuk in Eicha because of Nisa Levain al Kapan. You lift up your palms, our hearts to our palms, meaning it's like a straight up straightness that the person has. So the Rosh Hashanah, since it's for davening, you want pshutim. And therefore he says they should be straight, the Tanakama. And Yom Kippur also is going to be the same straight because we have a Gzeir Shava. Now, Ubitinius, regarding fast, which is, the purpose is just for gathering people together, so that, the way Rashi says, we don't care that it should be that of straight. So there, Kama the Kayif Inish Daite, the more person could be subdued and bent, is Trema Ali, that's better, because we want to make that the bent as a hecker, that it's for a different purpose. That's not there for davening or for sending the slaves back. It's just for gathering. So we're going to do it differently, and then it's taka better by fast that a person should be bent over. And like we said, Rabbi Levi holds like Rabbi Yehuda that for davening you need to be bent over. If we're going to give a Kippurim he holds that Yovel is the same as Rosh Hashanah in that regards like to Rabbanan. So therefore, that's why he said that both of them have to be bent over. That was the halacha. I believe he said that mitzvah Rosh Hashanah is going to be shal kfufin because of that he's comparing the two, and he holds Yehuda regarding to that of Rosh Hashanah, whereas that of shal kol Hashanah of Tinius, that's going to be, since it has to be different, it's actually there. It's going to actually be pshutin because it has to be different, and that's why it's not kfufin, which we just said it's kamad the kaifinish that the That's what Rashi says that we need to make a hacker, so he has to make the hacker the other way. Thank you to anytime.